All right, so today we are focusing on what is air pressure. And I can tell which weather comes from high pressure and low pressure air masses. So I know this might sound kind of confusing, but what I want you to focus on is low pressure and high pressure. So by the end of this, you'll be able to tell me what weather comes when we have high pressure air and what weather comes when we have low pressure air. The air all around us has mass. That means it takes up space, right? If you're in a room and you're sitting by yourself, that room is not actually empty. There's air filling up that room. You're breathing in. You can feel it if you move your hand and wave your hand around. You can feel your hand pushing the air around as a breeze, right? So the air all around us has mass and takes up space. Takes up space in all directions. So let's test it. I want you to take a cup or a glass and an index card. And what you're going to do is you're going to put water in the glass. So I used a jar, which you'll see in just a second. And then what I want you to do from that is I want you to take the index card right here, and you're going to put it along the top. Make sure you completely cover up the lid. Okay? And then all I want you to do is take it while holding the card, flip it over, and see what happens. Cool, right? Here's why that happened. So I'll explain. There's way more air pushing on the card that's sitting on top of this than the water that was pushing on the inside. There wasn't that much water in there. So why that happened was all the air that's around that jar is pushing on that card. And all the water was pushing on the card the other way. But the air was stronger. There's more air than water. And since more air is pushing on the card, it stayed in place. Air has mass. Now, air is pressing on us, and it weighs about 15 pounds. So at every moment of every day, we have about 15 pounds of air pushing on us in all directions. So I want you to imagine carrying around like your average size vacuum cleaner, or carrying that around all day. That's how much air is pushing on you at all times. We just don't feel it because it's been pushing on us. We have 15 pounds that have been pushing on us our entire lives. So we've gotten used to it. We've adjusted. So since we know that air has mass, then that means it can move things like the index card. And our weather moves this way. It gets pushed around. Okay, hey guys, I'm going to explain to you really quickly what happens with high pressure weather and what happens with low pressure weather, okay? So I'm using my 2 color markers. High pressure air is cooler and it's heavy. So that air is going to sink and stay down low. Okay, I'm gonna put a little line right there. See what I did there? High pressure air is cool and it stays down low. It's heavy, and cooler air can't hold all that moisture because it's tightly packed together. So all the little particles of this air, I want you to imagine they're tightly packed and they're low to the ground. That kind of looks like bubbles, doesn't it? But they're tightly packed. So the moisture can't get in between all those little parts that you see here, and that can't hold it, okay? That air is gonna stay low to the ground. And since it's low to the ground, what do we know what happens when our water goes up into the air? It starts to condense, and then it starts to precipitate or fall down. This water, this moisture in this air is never gonna do that. It's not gonna go up and stay. So it's gonna stay down low at the ground, and it's not gonna go up and turn into clouds, and then it can turn into precipitation, right? Okay, now for low pressure. Low pressure air, and I don't have a red marker, so I'm gonna have to use green, I'll use pink, okay? I use pink, okay? Low pressure air is light. Yeah, you can see that, light. See what I did there? And it's warmer, which is why I use pink. And it rises. It can rise. So this air mass is not as tightly packed, so it can hold more moisture. And when it holds that moisture, it carries it up with it. And eventually, what do we know happens when we carry moisture up into the air? From the water cycle, it's going to condense. Yeah, and then it's going to turn into a cloud. And then it's gonna fall, it's gonna start all over again and condense. and fall as precipitation. It's going to go back up and condense and fall as precipitation. So what kind of weather do you think we're going to have on a low pressure day? Lousy weather. Low pressure, lousy weather. We're not going to have any good, nice, clear days. We're going to have tons of clouds. Okay? And we're going to have precipitation, whether it's snow or rain. It's going to rain on those days. Okay? So I'm going to read this kind of slowly, and I want you to think about what I'm saying. High pressure air is heavy. They both start with the letter H, so that's easy to remember. High pressure air is heavy. The H on a weather map usually means fair, or fair just means nice, clear. Nice weather, because the air is normally cooler. It's cooler. That's why it's the color blue. Cooler air can't hold as much water vapor as warm air, okay? It cannot hold as much vapor as warm air, so it doesn't have as much, and it sinks because it's heavier. That's why heavier, higher pressure. That just means it's heavy. In the northern hemisphere, these winds curve clockwise. That just means they turn that way, okay? Cooler, heavier air can't hold as much moisture, so it's going to stay going down, and it turns clockwise, so like that. Okay? It's going to turn in a circle. Turn in a circle. Okay? So since that happens, and it's not going up, and it's not going up in this direction, let me use my pen, this now. Since it's not going up here to where the sun is, we are not going to have precipitation. No precipitation. No rain, no sleet, no snow, no hail. None of that. You're going to have clear skies. So I call it happy weather. Happy also starts with the letter H. You're going to have happy, clear weather. Sorry if that's hoppy. Now, low pressure, low, light. They both start with the letter L. So that's an easy way to remember it. The L on a weather map usually brings rainy, stormy weather. So I call this the lousy weather. Lousy. Lousy weather. Lousy means bad. That's the weather we don't like. The warmer air wants to rise since warm air is lighter. Low pressure. There it is again. Low light. The warm air is able to hold way more vapor than the cold air in the high pressure areas. And so it's going to be able to rise with that warm air, with that moisture too. The warm air carries the moisture up with it. So what does light air mean? Well, this air is going to go up this way. It goes up this way. And it moves through the water cycle. So when it rises and it carries that water with it, you guessed it, that's how this cloud happens. That water condenses into a cloud, and then, you guessed it, next it's going to rain. Precipitation. I guess I probably should have made my precipitation a different color, but you get the point. It's going to rain next. Okay? Light air, lousy weather. Light air, lousy weather. Low pressure.